Gun crews, prepare the starboard batteries. Double shot.
Every bathroom activity became a survival puzzle on pirate ships. Their twisted solutions for staying clean, healthy, and alive prove these criminals were more resourceful than any historian admits. Ever wondered where pirates went when nature called? Well, they had something called the head. And trust me, it wasn't anything like your cozy bathroom at home. The head sat right at the front of the ship, basically hanging over the ocean like a wooden diving board nobody wanted to dive from. Picture a simple plank with a hole cut through it. That's it. No fancy porcelain, no soft toilet seats, just rough wood and the endless sea below. The waves would crash up underneath, giving pirates an unexpected splash right where they least wanted it. But here's where it gets interesting. Not every pirate ship even had a proper head. Smaller vessels? Forget about it. Pirates on those boats simply hung their backsides over the side of the ship and hoped for the best. Makes you appreciate modern plumbing, right? Now, if you're thinking there might have been some privacy involved, think again. The head was completely out in the open. Everyone could see exactly what you were doing, when you were doing it, and probably hear your business too. Pirates weren't exactly known for their modesty, but even the toughest sea dogs must have felt a bit awkward relieving themselves in front of their entire crew. Well, almost the entire crew. Ship officers sometimes got special treatment with their own private buckets in their quarters. These lucky few could handle their business without an audience of smelly, judgmental pirates watching their every move. But for regular crew members, everything was shared. Food, sleeping space, and yes, even toilet facilities. The whole setup was pretty genius from a practical standpoint, though. The ocean current would wash everything away instantly, and there was no need for any kind of waste management system. Mother Nature handled the cleanup duties. Pirates just had to time things right with the waves, unless they wanted an unpleasant surprise splashing back up at them. Then there's the matter of balance. Ships rock back and forth constantly, especially on rough seas. One wrong move while perched on that wooden plank, and you might find yourself taking an unexpected swim with the sharks. Pirates needed serious sea legs just to use the bathroom safely. The communal aspect of pirate toilet time probably created some interesting social dynamics too. Nothing breaks down barriers quite like doing your business next to your shipmates every single day. Privacy was a luxury that simply didn't exist in the pirate world. But what happened when storms hit and the deck became too dangerous for even the bravest pirates to venture out to the head? That's when things got really creative and significantly more disgusting. The solutions pirates came up with during bad weather would make even the strongest stomach turn. When pirates faced a howling storm with waves crashing over the deck, using the head became about as appealing as jumping into a shark's mouth. The wooden plank toilet at the front of the ship turned into a death trap during rough weather. Smart pirates grabbed buckets instead. But here's where things got tricky. Carrying a full bucket of your own waste across a rocking ship without creating a disgusting mess required skills they never taught at pirate school. One wrong step, and you'd be sliding around in your own filth while your crewmates laughed at your misfortune. The real challenge came when emptying these buckets overboard. Pirates had to time it perfectly with the ship's movement, or else the wind would blow everything right back at them. Nothing ruins a pirate's day quite like getting smacked in the face by a bucket full of waste. Makes sense why this job usually went to the newest crew members, right? Then there were the desperately brave pirates who used the ship's chains during storms. These metal platforms hung just above the waterline, and they offered a bit more stability than the head. But the risk was enormous. One large wave or moment of lost balance meant plunging straight into the churning sea. Ships back then didn't have rescue boats standing by. If you fell overboard during a storm, your chances of survival were about as good as finding buried treasure in your backyard. Pirates knew this, yet some still risked it rather than deal with buckets sloshing around below deck. Well, when desperation truly struck, pirates turned to the absolute worst option: the bilge. This was the lowest part of the ship where all the nasty water, rotting food scraps, and general filth collected. The smell down there could knock a grown man unconscious. Even hardened pirates who hadn't bathed in months found the bilge overwhelming. Using the bilge as an emergency toilet was like adding a drop of poison to an already toxic soup. The stench would somehow get even worse, which seemed impossible until you experienced it firsthand. Pirates avoided this option until they literally had no other choice. And the weird part is that cleaning up after these stormy bathroom disasters fell to whoever drew the short straw. Imagine mopping up waste while the ship pitched and rolled, trying not to slip in the mess you're supposed to be cleaning. The job was so awful that pirates sometimes preferred punishment duties like scrubbing barnacles off the ship's hull. But storms eventually passed, and pirates had to return to their regular bathroom routines. The question becomes, how exactly did these rough seafaring men clean themselves after doing their business when soap and toilet paper were luxuries they'd never even heard of? Now here's where things get truly disgusting. After finishing their business on the head, pirates faced another lovely challenge: cleaning themselves. Spoiler alert, they weren't exactly winning any hygiene awards. Forget about toilet paper. That luxury didn't exist for seafaring rogues. Instead, pirates got creative with whatever they could find. Old rags, frayed rope ends, or sometimes just their bare hands dipped in seawater. Charming, right? But wait, it gets worse. Many ships had what sailors called a communal swab, basically a shared sponge or rag tied to a long rope. Everyone used the same one. Yes, everyone. The same piece of fabric that had just cleaned your crewmate's backside was now your turn to use. Talk about bonding with your shipmates. The theory was that this swab would get cleaned by dragging through the ocean water between uses. Pirates hung it over the side, hoping the salt water would magically wash away all the nastiness. Spoiler alert number 2, it didn't work very well. That communal swab was basically a floating petri dish of germs and filth. Some pirates preferred the direct approach, just splashing seawater on themselves with cupped hands. At least this method was personal, even if it stung like crazy. Salt water on sensitive areas? Not exactly pleasant, but pirates weren't known for their comfort preferences. Then there's the question of who got stuck maintaining the head area. Someone had to scrub down that wooden plank and keep things somewhat sanitary. This job fell to whoever had annoyed the captain recently or drew the shortest straw. Most pirates would rather face a sword fight than spend an afternoon cleaning everyone's toilet mess. The smell must have been absolutely overwhelming. Without proper cleaning supplies or fresh water to spare, that front section of the ship became a bacterial nightmare. Pirates just had to live with it day after day, meal after meal. What's really mind-boggling is how rarely pirates washed their hands afterward. Fresh water was liquid gold on these ships, reserved for drinking and cooking. Wasting precious water on hand washing seemed ridiculous to most pirates. They'd rather risk getting sick than use up their drinking supply. Officers sometimes got slightly better treatment, maybe their own private bucket or access to better cleaning materials, but even captains had to make do with the same basic system. Democracy in action, pirate style. The lack of proper cleaning created a cycle of nastiness that never ended. Dirty hands touched food, ropes, weapons, and everything else on the ship. Germs spread faster than gossip in a small town. But speaking of staying clean on pirate ships, the toilet situation was just the beginning of their hygiene disasters. When it came to actually bathing their entire bodies, pirates faced even bigger challenges that would make modern people faint. Fresh water on a pirate ship was more precious than gold. Well, almost. Every drop had to be saved for drinking and cooking, which meant taking a proper bath was basically impossible. Makes sense when you realize these guys could be stuck at sea for months without seeing land. When pirates did attempt to wash themselves, they used seawater. But here's the thing about salt water. It doesn't actually clean you. It leaves a sticky, crusty film on your skin that itches like crazy. Imagine rubbing salt into every pore of your body, then letting it dry. That burning sensation? Yeah, that's what pirates dealt with every time they tried to get clean. The ocean was right there, so why didn't pirates just jump in for a quick swim? 3 terrifying reasons. First, they genuinely believed sea monsters lurked beneath their ships, ready to drag down anyone foolish enough to take a dip. Second, there was always the very real fear that the ship might sail away without them, either by accident or because someone decided they weren't worth waiting for. Third, sharks often followed pirate ships because of all the waste being dumped overboard. Nothing quite ruins your bath like becoming someone's lunch. Then there's the matter of clothing. Pirates wore the same filthy rags for weeks, sometimes months at a time. Their shirts, pants, and undergarments, if they had any, became so stiff with sweat, salt, and grime that they could practically stand up on their own. Laundry day? That only happened when they raided another ship and stole fresh clothes from their victims. The lucky pirates might find soap among their plundered goods, but most of the time they made do with whatever they could scrape together. Some tried using sand as an abrasive to scrub away the worst of the filth, but that usually just left them bloody and still dirty. Hot baths were the stuff of dreams. The only time a pirate might experience warm, clean water was when they reached port. And even then, only if they had money to spend at a tavern or bathhouse. Most pirates were so broke they couldn't afford such luxuries anyway. Occasionally, when someone was desperately ill, the crew might heat up some seawater to help clean infected wounds or ease fever. But this was reserved for life or death situations, not regular hygiene. The irony is that all this filthiness made pirates easily identifiable from a distance. You could smell a pirate ship approaching long before you could see it. But what made them even more recognizable was their absolutely horrific dental hygiene. When's the last time you went a week without brushing your teeth? Well, pirates went months, maybe years. Toothbrushes weren't exactly standard pirate equipment, and dental hygiene ranked somewhere below swabbing the deck and fighting sea monsters on their priority list. Most pirates had mouths that looked like broken picket fences, missing teeth, black teeth, teeth hanging by threads. The lucky ones just had really bad breath. Makes sense, right? When you're living on hardtack biscuits so stale they could stop a cannonball, your teeth take a beating. But here's the thing that made it even worse. Pirates ate the most tooth-destroying diet imaginable. Dried meat that was tougher than leather boots. Salt pork so hard you needed an axe to cut it. And those famous hardtack biscuits? They were basically edible rocks. Pirates often soaked them in rum or water just to avoid breaking their remaining teeth. Then there's scurvy. This delightful disease made pirates' gums swell up like balloons and their teeth fall out like autumn leaves. Without fresh fruits or vegetables for months at sea, scurvy turned even the toughest pirate into a toothless mess. Some veteran pirates could gum their food better than new recruits could chew theirs. The few pirates who actually tried to clean their teeth got creative. They'd chew on twigs or strips of cloth. Some used their knife tips to scrape off the worst bits. A lucky few might find herbs on tropical islands that freshened their breath for about 5 minutes. But most pirates just accepted that their mouth was going to smell like a dead fish wrapped in old socks. What's really gross is that tooth pain was so common, pirates developed a weird tolerance for it. New crew members would wince watching older pirates casually pull out loose teeth during dinner conversations. "Pass the salt and hand me that rope, I've got a molar to yank," was probably normal dinner table talk. The ship's surgeon, if they had one, wasn't much help either. His solution to tooth problems was usually the same as his solution to everything else. Pull it out or pour rum on it. Sometimes both. Pirates learned to live with constant tooth pain because the alternative was letting some half-drunk sailor dig around in their mouth with rusty pliers. And the smell? Well, imagine being trapped in a small wooden box with 30 guys who haven't brushed their teeth in months, eat rotten food, and think mouthwash is a waste of perfectly good drinking alcohol. The stench from their mouths probably wilted the ship's sails. But bad teeth were just the beginning of pirate hygiene problems. Their hair told an even more disgusting story of life at sea. You thought teeth were bad? Well, pirates had bigger problems crawling all over their bodies. Lice and fleas made their home in every strand of hair, every fold of clothing, and every corner of the ship. These tiny passengers were so common that scratching became as natural as breathing. Some desperate pirates took drastic action. They'd shave their entire heads, hoping to evict their unwelcome guests. But here's the thing. Lice are clever little creatures. They just move to eyebrows, beards, or find cozy spots in clothing seams. The war against bugs was never really won. Pirates' hands told their own disgusting story. These were the same hands that handled ropes covered in tar, touched rotting food, and, yes, dealt with all those toilet situations we talked about. Then they'd eat with those same filthy fingers. Makes sense why disease spread like wildfire, right? When fights broke out, and they did constantly, pirates collected cuts, stabs, and bullet wounds like souvenirs. But their idea of medical care would horrify any doctor today. They'd splash rum on open wounds, thinking alcohol fixed everything. Sometimes they'd use the same greasy rags that cleaned the cannons to bandage injuries. The worst part? Salt water was their antiseptic of choice. Imagine pouring ocean water full of bacteria and who knows what else directly into a fresh sword wound. The screaming could probably be heard 3 ships away. Then there's the cramped living conditions that turned every minor illness into a ship-wide epidemic. Pirates slept shoulder to shoulder in spaces smaller than most modern closets. When one person caught something nasty, everyone caught it. The ship became a floating petri dish of disease. But here's where pirates showed their surprising human side. Despite being rough, violent criminals, they actually looked after sick crewmates pretty well. They'd share precious fresh water with fevered pirates and give up their own food rations. It wasn't pure kindness. They needed every able body to sail the ship and fight battles. Their makeshift medicine cabinet was basically whatever they could steal or trade for. Herbs grabbed from tropical islands, strange powders bought from shady merchants, and always plenty of rum for both drinking and wound cleaning. Sometimes a sick pirate got the ultimate luxury: rest in the captain's quarters away from the chaos below deck. The irony is thick here. These were men who'd murder for a handful of gold coins, yet they'd tenderly nurse a shipmate through deadly fever. Pirates understood something important. Survival depended on the crew staying healthy enough to work. Of course, all this medical care happened while the entire ship reeked like a floating garbage dump. And speaking of that smell, wait until you hear just how absolutely revolting life aboard a pirate ship really got. The combined effect of all this poor hygiene created what you might generously call a unique atmosphere aboard pirate ships. But let's be honest, these floating homes were basically nightmare factories for your nose. Picture walking onto a pirate vessel after weeks at sea. The stench would hit you like a physical wall. Human waste, rotting food, unwashed bodies, and stale bilge water created a cocktail of smells that could knock a grown person unconscious. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but sailors often mention the overwhelming odor when boarding other ships. The smell wasn't just unpleasant, it was dangerous. All that human waste going straight into the ocean created floating buffets for sharks and other predators. Ships often had schools of fish following them, attracted by the constant stream of, shall we say, organic matter. Pirates learned to recognize this fishy entourage as both a blessing and a curse. Then there's the clothing situation, which was absolutely grim. Pirates wore the same clothes for months without washing them. Their shirts, pants, and coats became so filthy they could practically stand up on their own. When pirates raided other ships, clean clothing was often as valuable as gold. They'd strip defeated enemies, not just for treasure, but for fresh garments. But the weird part is how all this filth affected their health beyond just making them smell terrible. Bad hygiene weakened immune systems, making pirates vulnerable to diseases that spread like wildfire in cramped quarters. Scurvy, dysentery, and various skin infections were constant companions aboard these floating petri dishes. What's fascinating is how pirates adapted to their circumstances. They developed remarkably strong stomachs, both literally and figuratively. New crew members would spend their first week seasick not just from the ocean's motion, but from the overwhelming sensory assault of ship life. Yet despite all this nastiness, pirates showed genuine care for sick crewmates. When someone fell seriously ill, the crew would share their best food and create makeshift remedies using whatever they had. Rum wasn't just for celebrating. It served as medicine, antiseptic, and sometimes the only way to make foul-tasting treatments bearable. The irony is striking. These tough, fearsome sea raiders who terrorized merchant ships were often walking biological hazards. Their reputation for being dangerous was enhanced by their appearance and smell. Victims sometimes surrendered quickly just to avoid close contact with these unwashed warriors. Makes you appreciate modern plumbing, right? Pirates lived in conditions that would horrify health inspectors today. Every aspect of their daily existence involved compromises between survival and cleanliness almost always lost. The combination of poor sanitation, terrible hygiene, and cramped living conditions created a perfect storm of health problems that significantly shortened pirate lifespans. Their adventurous lifestyle was literally killing them, one dirty day at a time.